If you're worried about the future of Social Security, whether you're someone who's already receiving a Social Security check or you still have a few decades to go before you retire, you're certainly not alone. There have been plenty of headlines circulating recently about the Social Security Trust Fund being depleted by the year 2035. So in this video, I'm going to explain exactly what that means for you and why it's not as scary as you might think. Hey everyone, my name is Jake Skellhorn. If we haven't met yet, I'm a certified financial planner and the co-founder of Spark Wealth Advisors. My channel and my firm are both dedicated to giving you more confidence and clarity with your money. As a financial planner who has spent the better part of the last decade focusing on retirement planning, a big part of my job is staying up to date on tax laws, regulations, and changes to retirement benefits such as Social Security, so I know how it impacts my clients in all stages of life. So in addition to the Social Security Trust Fund and the significance of the year 2035, we're first going to discuss how Social Security is funded in the first place, and then towards the end of this video, we'll talk about a few potential solutions that are being talked about and how they can fill the shortfall. So first and foremost, Social Security is funded by what are called FICA taxes, or payroll taxes as they're more commonly known. Payroll taxes come out to 12.4% of wages that are paid in the US, up to a wage base of $168,600, which is essentially a cap. After that, you no longer pay that Social Security or FICA tax. Half of this 12.4% is paid by you, the employee, and the other half is paid by the employer. If you're self-employed, you generally will pay both sides of that. What a lot of people aren't aware of is that Social Security does not get paid into an account that's designated in your name that you then tap into later when you retire, similar to 401ks and IRAs. Anything that you pay today in payroll taxes actually goes directly to someone else's Social Security benefit that is receiving those benefits today. So payroll taxes are responsible for the vast majority of benefits that are currently being paid out to retirees today. The difference comes from the OASDI Trust Fund, which stands for Old Age and Survivors and Disability Insurance Trust Fund, which essentially acts as a cash reserve or a savings account to pay benefits when payroll taxes are not enough. From 1984 to 2009, the inflows from payroll taxes exceeded the outflows from the current benefits being paid, which resulted in the surplus being deposited into the OASDI Trust Fund. But since 2010, the opposite has been the case. The outflows have exceeded the inflows, which is why the trust fund is now being depleted in order to pay the current benefits. So this is where you're seeing all the headlines about the trust fund being on path to be depleted to zero by 2035. Just as a quick side note, there's technically two separate trust funds that are commonly referred to as one, but the Old Age and Survivors, which is the Social Security side, is its own fund, and then the disability insurance is its own fund. If no action is taken and we only pull money from the Social Security Trust Fund to pay current benefits, that is expected to be depleted by 2033. But if we tap into the disability insurance fund, it will extend it to 2035. That would require legal action, but it seems like that is on the table based on what I've read. But the point here is that 100% of current scheduled benefits are expected to be paid until 2035. Based on the latest Social Security Trustees report. So now that we know how the system works, let's get down to the talks about a potential cut in benefits and what happens after the year 2035. So as I mentioned a minute ago, the vast majority of benefits being paid today are funded from payroll taxes being paid by workers today. So even if the OASDI Trust Fund goes to zero in the year 2035, based on the latest report, payroll taxes will still be enough to cover 83% of scheduled benefits until the year 2098. After the year 2098, it's expected that payroll taxes will still be enough to cover about 73% of that. So simply put, even if no action is taken whatsoever in Congress, under the current assumptions and projections, everyone is expected to receive about 80% of their scheduled benefits between 2035 and 2098. So while 20% is still a significant cut, it's certainly not 100% that you are led to believe by some of the headlines when they say that the trust fund is going to be going to zero by 2035. So if there's one thing you take away from this video, let it be this. This is what I mean when I say it's not as scary as you might think. Now, because of the disruption that would be caused by a cut in Social Security benefits, policymakers have come up with a number of solutions, both single policy and a combination of policies, that would allow 100% of scheduled benefits to be paid through the year 2098. Single policy solutions on the inflow side would be an immediate and permanent increase to the payroll tax by 3.33%. So instead of 12.4% like it is today, that would go up to 15.74%. I haven't been able to find any confirmation whether that 3.33% would be paid completely by the employee, the employer, or a split between the two like it is today. My assumption is that it would be the latter, but don't quote me on that. I haven't been able to confirm that just yet. And remember, this tax would only apply to payroll taxes, not income taxes. So if you're living off of IRA withdrawals, other investment income, or if you're a public sector employee who doesn't pay into Social Security, this wouldn't have a huge impact on you. So And again, as a single policy solution, this increase in payroll taxes alone would be enough to pay 100% of scheduled benefits through 2098. On the outflow or the benefits side, an immediate and permanent cut of 20.8% to all current and future benefits would be enough to fill that gap until 2098. Obviously, this would adversely affect current and near retirees more. In dollar terms, this would result in about a $400 per month cut for someone who's receiving the average Social Security benefit, which is about $1,919 today. One of the alternatives to this would be to only cut future benefits. So for anyone claiming benefits in 2024 or later, those would be cut by 24.8%, and that again would fill the gap until 2098. So because of the drastic and immediate effects of these so-called single policy solutions, I think it would be pretty difficult politically for Congress to pass these. So they've also come up with a number of combined policy solutions. In other words, a mixture of multiple things that could fill the gap between 2035 and 2098. On the revenue side, some of the combined policy solutions would include removing the Social Security wage base, which is that $168,000 limit that you stop paying payroll taxes above that. So they could remove that completely. That's expected to cover about 60% of the shortfall between 2035 and 2098, with the other 40% of the gap being made up by just a 1.35% increase in payroll taxes instead of that 3.33%. Obviously, this would affect high income earners the most, but it's important to note that these high income earners would also receive higher benefits down the line as opposed to what they would receive based on today's calculations. On the benefits or the outflow side, there's a few solutions, notably increasing the full retirement age from 67 to either 68 or 69. That would be expected to fill a big portion of the gap. I don't think that one will be very popular, so we'll see about the viability of that. But that combined with a change in how the cost of living adjustment to Social Security is calculated each year could be a solution to fill the gap. Obviously, these won't be very popular with people approaching retirement or already receiving those Social Security benefits, but we'll just have to wait and see on the viability of those proposals. There's a long list of other potential solutions that could fill the gap. There's actually a website that has an interactive calculator where you can play with the numbers and make your own suggestions. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. So a few final thoughts for those already receiving benefits or close to it, as well as those that still have a few decades to go before retirement. First, for those near retirees or current retirees, remember that the worst case scenario under the current assumptions starting in 2035 is that you'll receive a 20% cut approximately to your benefits until the year 2098. So again, 20% is still a significant cut, but it's certainly not 100% or even 50%. And a lot of the proposed solutions are on the income side. In other words, those payroll taxes that could fill the gap. So they may not even affect you, especially if you're receiving income from IRAs and other sources that are not subject to those taxes. So that's what I'll say to the pre-retirees and current retirees. For those still a few decades away from retirement, the future is not as bad as you might think. I recently saw that a survey from 2023 found that 50% of people that are still working today expect to receive zero from Social Security by the time they retire. But as we saw earlier in the video, the worst case scenario under the current projections is that you'll receive over 70% of your scheduled benefits if nothing else is done. So obviously, the more that you save and invest in your own accounts while time is on your side, the less you'll need to rely on Social Security in the future anyway. So hopefully this video accomplished what I set out for it to do. And again, that was to calm your nerves about the future of Social Security. I've made several other videos about Social Security. If you want to check out those videos, here they are now. As always, if you're interested in seeing more about what we do for our clients at Spark Wealth Advisors, visit our website at sparkwealthadvisors.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.